Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. Today we are looking at Zero Jumper, issue 1 of a 4-issue limited series from Alterna Comics. The art and story are by Patrick Mulholland. We start out with this kid talking about some disaster that's happened and teleports in and knocks a statue over. Well, that doesn't go over well with the locals, who are very displeased. Purple creature attacks him, manages to jump out of the way, and goes running. Now, I'm actually unsure as to the gender of our hero here, so I'm gonna guess male. Either that or a very flat-chested girl, but the name is Juno. For whatever that's worth. So apparently he's a time jumper and he's able to jump a few minutes at a time through time and space, and he is looking for this mysterious substance called 0-point energy that allows him to jump around, but it's a very rare material, and he's on this planet looking for it, and he finds some, and there's this weird architecture thing that looks kind of creepy, and he goes past it into this field where there's this giant like eyeball looking crystal, and it comes to life and attacks him, and of course he has to use his abilities to, or his suit's abilities to fight it. It overloads and shoots out a beam and takes out the creature, and he's able to get the crystal, and he uses that and then jumps back to his home base, and then we find out that there's somebody looking for him, somebody that wears this like, I don't know, black hooded outfit, carries a staff of some kind, and has a face like Jigsaw from the Saw movies, you know, the little puppet thing that would ride around on the tricycle. Yeah, looks like that. And the kid is actually trying to undo a very, very bad disaster that happened to the Earth. He's on the moon, apparently, you know, moon base. Now, I've given a brief synopsis of it, but definitely not the target audience for this. It definitely has more of a manga or anime style feel to it, and the art reflects that quite a bit, I think. There's heavy influences in some of the cutesy nature of the kid, whatever gender this kid's supposed to be, and the style itself of like the costume and the situations. Yeah, I get the impression this is definitely very heavily influenced by manga and anime, and I don't personally care for those genres. I think it was well put together for what it is. I don't think it's an SJW type comic where it's really poorly done, silly billy kind of goofiness. I think it's actually a lot better described as a manga type book. If you're into anime or manga, this probably is more up your alley. Really wasn't my thing, but I could see where it would get an audience with people that are more into anime and manga. So if you're into that, I'd recommend it for you. Otherwise, it didn't really do anything for me. I didn't feel ripped off for my $1.50, but it just wasn't my style. It wasn't my type of book. I thought it was a little convoluted and silly, but for a younger audience, it would be fine. It's definitely a decent all ages book. I don't think I saw any swearing in there. I think it would definitely appeal to teenagers, younger readers even beyond that. So I would recommend it for younger readers or people that like anime and manga. Not my thing, like I said, but definitely has an audience out there. It's not an SJW book from what I can tell. There may be some of that in the next issues. I don't know. I'll check them out to see, but I didn't get a negative impression by it. So that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Be sure and hit like, share, and subscribe, and we hope to see you on the next episode. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Zero Jumper, issue 2 of 4 from Alterna Comics 2018. Now we pick up with Juno, our time jumping girl, and she is going to a bar on an alien world to steal some sort of like flash drive type thing that's got information that might be useful. She just straight up steals it and then beats the crap out of the guy that had it, that when he catches her, and then there's a big fight. Of course, she wins, and then she takes off, and then she meets someone named Elena, who says that she can get her into this tower. There's this gate at the top of the spire, and they fly over there as they're being pursued by these people that want the chip for the Scion, who's hunting Juno. Well, they jump up there, and it turns into a Stargate because the little robot thing activates it, and they pop through on the other side to some cool-looking place of mystery, and there is the Scion Scion standing at the gate, and there is a betrayal of sorts, and Juno is captured, and we are left with a cliffhanger ending. Now, the art is the same quality as the first issue. The art and story were by Patrick Mulholland. I think Patrick Mulholland did everything on the book, actually. The art is very manga style, and the storyline is too. Not really my thing. I didn't much care for it. I thought the character was a bit of a Mary Sue, one of those perfect people that no matter what they do is pretty much going to win in everything. So I didn't feel like there was really any risk. The character seems to be way smarter than her age would imply, and I thought it was very rushed. I don't really know anything about this character other than it's the last human being, and the Earth was destroyed through some unknown means. Apparently the Scion might have done it, but we're not real sure. I don't have enough background information. I don't have any connection with this character, and I'm definitely not the target age demographic. But if you're real into manga, it really has that feel to me. I'm not a huge manga fan. I haven't read manga in a really long time, and I never really got into it. But this feels like it would be better as a trade paperback where the whole story is there, because I really don't feel any connection to the character. It feels like I missed an issue and I didn't. So I would have liked some more background. I was hoping for that in this issue, and we get a little bit, but it's really not enough to keep my interest too high. It's pretty well done as far as manga goes. It definitely has a hurried action feel to it, but it's really not something I'm overly interested in at this point. I think it would definitely appeal to younger readers that don't necessarily care about that sort of thing, because there is a lot of action and it is kind of a power fantasy. If you know someone younger, they would like it too. I think someone like 12 years old, 12, 15 maybe, and maybe even a little younger. I don't think there's any swearing in there, so it would definitely target that audience. Otherwise, I don't think older readers are going to find much here, but as an all ages book, yeah, I mean, it's rated T for teen. I don't think that's wrong. I think that older readers just are kind of past the point where this is going to be overly interesting. It's going to be kind of intellectually lazy for them. It just wasn't something I'm particularly interested in. Thank you as always for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any future episodes, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and hopefully we'll see you on the next episode.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Zero Jumper, issue 3 of the 4-issue limited series from Alterna Comics, 2018. Art and story by Patrick Mulholland. Now, we start off with Juno kind of experiencing some Earth stuff. She seems to be on Earth, but she figures out it's not where she's at, and that she's actually being imprisoned by the Scion. Now, the Scion is following the directions of someone called the Eternal One, who destroyed the Earth because it foresaw some human destroying it. Well, Juno happened to get beamed off world by her mom, and we're learning a lot more of that backstory in this issue. Now, thanks to the help of her little orb thing, she manages to fight back, but things are not always what they seem, and there is still enemies afoot, and she still has to try and save the planet by going back in time and collecting all the shards of this thing. Well, this issue, I don't really want to ruin anything, because this was actually the best issue so far of the series, and we get a lot of the backstory that we really should have got earlier. I think a lot of the information in this issue should have been in issue 1, and maybe start with this in the story, because there's a lot of backstory here that really would have made issue 1 a lot better. Having this information would have made the entire miniseries make a lot more sense than it did. I understand what they were going for, but they really weren't getting me to grasp the story, and it's rated for teens, so I don't think I'm dumber than a teenager, unless you ask a teenager. This actually saved the series for me, because I was not real impressed with issues 1 and 2, but this was a much better written, more thought out storyline, and I thought it was handled much better than the other issues. And we do learn a lot more about Juno's motivations and things like that I wanted to have in the first couple issues. So I think this is definitely one that you're going to want to get in a trade paperback or buy all 4 issues at the same time if you're going to enjoy this series. I honestly think it probably could have been a 5 or 6 issue series and given it a little more padding, interesting, going more in depth on what the kid's trying to do and her quest to find these shards. I think that would be a lot more interesting, but again, I didn't particularly like the first 2 issues, but I did like this one quite a bit. So I'm definitely going to check out issue 4. I'm looking forward to it now, where I wasn't before, and I'm going to recommend this one. I think this was a good read, especially for teens. There's the closest to a swear word we have is damn it. She almost drops the F-bomb, but teenagers are experimenting with the language, if you will, and I think they'll enjoy it. It's very manga style. The art wasn't as bad in this one. I didn't like the art that much in the first 2, but it's definitely improving here. I think if there's a follow-up series to this, Patrick Mulholland will definitely have improved his art style by then. So I think this is a solid issue. I'm going to recommend it, but that's just my take. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Zero Jumper issue 4. This is a 4-issue limited series from Alterna Comics in 2018. Art and story by Patrick Mulholland. It took me a while to track this issue down. It didn't have a large print run like a lot of Alterna books, so it took me a while to find it, and I pulled it out of a dollar bin. And we find Juno doing her final assault on this gate thing, trying to go back in time to fix history. Now I finally did figure out that this is a girl, because it's very ambiguous through the entire story. But this is a very action-packed issue as Juno fights the big bad guy and tries to get to the past. Now, there is some help from this Ilana woman, but unfortunately things do not go very well for her. Overall, the story is a little simplistic. It is very action-packed, like I said, but the final few pages really do kind of redeem any problems I had with the story, because it actually goes somewhere where I didn't think it was going to go. And it wraps up in a pretty interesting way. I think there were a lot of really good ideas here that probably could have been explored a little further into like a 6-part story and had a little more depth fleshed into the storyline, because it comes off as being very much like a manga where everything is very hyper simplistic and very linear. The ending was an interesting twist, but overall it is a bit of a simplistic story. It is rated for teenagers, so I think it's pretty on point for that target demographic. And overall the art's not bad. I'm not a huge fan of the manga style of art, but for what it is, it's done well. There's a few perspective shots that definitely needed to have some work done on them, where Juno is flying and the arm that she has out looks very truncated and tiny, like a little T-Rex arm. But overall, the artist does understand perspective pretty well. They just need to work a little more on perspective shots where the character is in motion toward the viewer. I thought it was a pretty fun story, very straightforward, but pretty interesting. Again, it probably could have used a little bit more padding to flesh out the storyline and how the jumping is done and what the effects of the different crystals and stuff like that. Probably could have used some more explanation, but overall I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was a pretty fun book, so I'll recommend it, especially for younger readers. I think it will definitely appeal to middle school and high schoolers a lot more than it will older readers, but if you like manga stuff, you'll probably really like this. And if you're just looking for a nice straightforward story, these are worth tracking down. So I thought it was pretty good, and I'm glad I finally found it and got to read the end of the story. Another good book from Alterna, definitely worth tracking down and reading. I don't know if this was ever collected as a trade, but it would probably be better to read it that way, but I didn't have a problem reading single issues, and it's on newsprint and I really like that. Gave it kind of a retro feel. The cover's really good too. I think that really would have got me to buy it just out of curiosity, but as a standalone issue, this one isn't going to make any sense. So if you were going to read these, I'd recommend reading the whole miniseries. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods, including my Patreon. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.